Hey everyone, I'm back, and today we're going to do a Q&A session. I put up a question box on Instagram and you guys sent in a ton of questions, and I'm going to go ahead and get right to it because there's a lot of them and I don't want to keep anyone here for like a half hour answering questions, but there's some really great questions on here. I'm going to be walking back and forth to my computer just to read the questions, and then I'll come back and answer them and do any demonstrations that I need to do. So let's get started. What are some ways that I can increase my speed? Okay, I know I rant about this all the time, but I'm going to keep doing it because I cannot stress how important it is. The number one way you are going to increase power and speed and just be able to be the very best pitcher that you can be is strength and conditioning. Getting with a really good trainer who understands pitching specific workouts. Pitching takes a ton of core, hip, and leg strength. And it's also about really good mechanics. We're here to teach you the optimal pitching mechanics, but it's up to you as a pitcher to be able to prepare your body to do those mechanics. So I would say ways to increase speed, it has to do with three things. 1, strength and conditioning. 2, perfect mechanics. 3, and this is what I'm going to talk about and demonstrate right now, making sure that we're using the legs correctly. So power, again, comes mostly from the legs and getting a really good explosive drive off the rubber. So it's really important to make sure we're loading correctly when we do our pre-motion. I still see so many girls loading onto their back foot. It is not the back foot that creates our stride off the rubber. It is the front foot. So it's really important that when we load that we feel a weight transfer to get forward on the front foot and look like a sprinter about to come off the blocks. So when we load, we want to be forward. And then with our weight loaded on this foot, it will allow us to better get a good push and glide off the rubber. Power comes from the legs. So if you're not using the legs correctly, if you're not pushing out, if you're pushing up, or you're doing what we call stepping off the rubber, and you're not getting a glide at all, you're going to lose a tremendous amount of power. But also if you have mechanical issues such as bending or leaning or rotating, or you're pushing the ball instead of snapping and firing the ball, that's going to decrease speed and power as well. But what's going to allow you to be able to do all those things while not getting too tired or having your mechanics breaking down, what's going to allow you to have good mechanics and use your legs correctly is strength and conditioning. Very important. Next question. How do you increase arm speed? So believe it or not, having good arm speed is actually also a strength and conditioning thing. It's about core strength. I see all the time girls who just start to learn the correct mechanics, and they do a good job of staying nice and tall and tracked, but their arm speeds are really slow. And then when they start to increase the arm speed, we start to see bending and rotating and using the body to deliver instead of just the arm and the drive through. This is because their cores are weak. So again, strengthen those pitching muscles and you'll be able to have faster arm speed. But if you're asking specifically for a drill, I highly recommend our 3-2-1 drill. And any drill I mention in this video, you can literally go to our website and just type the name into the search box and a video for it will come up. Or you can DM me or email me and I will send the link to you. So our 3-2-1 drill works specifically on arm speed. We do 3 arm circles, 2 arm circles, and then 1 arm circle, working on each arm circle being progressively faster and faster and faster. So I'll show you what 3 looks like with a ball, and then I'll just demonstrate 2 and 1. So 3 would be 1, 2, 3. And then 2 would be 1, 2, and 1 would be the absolute fastest. And you can add a drive through too if you'd like. So that's a really great drill to work on not only arm speed, but arm path. And it's also a really great drill to combine with wall work. So our next question, what should the speed difference from a K drill to a full pitch be? A lot. Okay, so if by K drill you mean, like our forearm fire drills, the speed difference should be quite significant because Like I said, for the first question, power comes from the legs. And when we're doing K drills, we're not really using the legs at all, except for a drive through sometimes, but we're not exploding off the rubber. We're not pushing off the rubber. So, I mean, you will see some speed. You should be able to see good whip and spin if your pitcher is doing forearm fire correctly and has good snap, but it's going to be nowhere near as fast as a full pitch should be because we're not using the legs. So pretty big difference. What are some off-season drills for youth pitchers? So that really kind of depends on what kind of mechanical issues your pitcher is having. It's kind of hard for me to pick one drill that would fit every single pitcher. So, for example, if you have a pitcher that is, pushing the ball instead of snapping and firing, I would recommend our forearm fire drills. If you're having a girl who maybe is getting her arm behind her body or, has problems with arm path, I might recommend our end game drills. For arm speed, I'd recommend the 3-2-1 drills. Just anything to really solidify those fastball mechanics. And wall work is always great to solidify mechanics with any drill. And then once your pitcher really has the mechanics down, then you can start adding in things like power drills. So it really depends on your pitcher, but I would really just start with our basic drills to really solidify the mechanics. How can I get my right foot to give more power so I can jump farther? Okay, so I know what you mean, but for the other viewers out there who might not know, we don't jump off the rubber. Jumping implies like back foot leaving the ground and getting the weight forward. And as we know, back foot leaving the ground is called crow hopping, and it is illegal. So when we push off the rubber, we need to make sure that back foot stays on the ground. So we like to say pushing off the rubber or driving off the rubber or gliding off the rubber. So what can you do to make your right foot or your front foot stronger in the push off the rubber? Strength and conditioning, but also really just making sure that you're loaded correctly. So again, not loading back onto the back foot, getting forward onto the front foot like a sprinter, and then driving down and out is what's going to get that foot to work harder. Also, our drills such as out, back, freeze, deliver, or planks, or a new drill that I'm going to be posting soon, where you physically take the weight off of this foot completely, off of your back foot completely, so that you can't have any weight on it, will help you engage that front foot better. So for example, if we're doing out, back, freeze, deliver, we're going to go out. My weight is off that front foot. Back, my weight is still off that front foot. I have no choice but to push with this foot because all my weight is on it. Go, freeze and power K. See how far you have pushed off the rubber. See how far that glide is, and then deliver. So that's a really great drill to work on your front foot strength in pushing off the rubber. So next question. Should you have full, I love this question. Should you have full control of a fastball and a changeup before moving other pitches? I cannot tell you how many people reach out to me and say things like, yeah, my daughter just, she knows the fastball, so we'd love to learn a rise ball next. I can't. Yes, the answer is yes. So first things first, fastball mechanics have to be solidified before we learn anything else, because the mechanics for the other pitches are all built off of the fastball mechanics. So once you have the fastball mechanics down, then we learn the changeup, because it's really, really important. I don't care how hard you throw. I don't care if you're a 12-year-old throwing 75 miles an hour. An off-speed pitch is a must for everybody. So yes, the fastball should be learned first, followed by the changeup, and then we can get into the spin pitches. And I actually have a post on our website that talks about what order we teach the pitches in, if you want to check it out. So very good question. What is the fastest speed I've seen? Ooh, well, it's not me, that's for sure. I know that Paige Lowry on Oklahoma hit 75 miles per hour quite a few times when she was playing in the Women's College World Series a couple years ago, and they won. And I think Monica Abbott, of course, even throws a bit harder than that. I think she's hit maybe like 77, which is just unreal. I mean, amazing athletes, these girls, and the fact that they can throw that hard is just crazy. And it all comes from good mechanics. And again, if you look up the kinds of strength and conditioning that these girls do in college or when they're prepping for the 2020 Olympics, can't wait, you're going to see the kinds of strength and conditioning that you need to do to be able to compete like these girls. So probably like between 75 and 77 miles an hour is the fastest pitch I've seen. Is the wrist snap taught different? A lot of the drills show their snap up and away. Okay, I'm not really sure what that means, but I'm going to grab the ball real quick. So again, here at Fastpitch Power, we don't really teach us like one release point. So like for Hello Elbow, you would have probably seen like release point and then snap up. Here we teach a throw zone, and that's just the path that your arm follows when delivering the ball. So how you release the ball is we get to the palm up, elbow down position at the back side of the arm circle. We lead from the elbow, and then right around the front hip, there's forward wrist snap. So elbow comes down first, snap, snap, and then the hand extends outwards towards the catcher. So I'm not sure what you mean by a lot of girls snap up and away. Feel free to DM me or message me, and we can talk about it, and I can give you a slow motion video of the snap if you'd like. But the most important thing to remember is to get the correct whip, and snap on the ball is elbow comes first, followed by wrist snap by the front hip, and then extension out towards the catcher. At what velocity do pitches start to break? I don't think there's really like a specific answer, because there's off-speed spin pitches. So there's a power drop and there's an off-speed drop. There's off-speed rise balls that I've seen, although Coach Phil will maintain that you have to be throwing at least 60 miles an hour to throw a rise ball, which I disagree with. To me, it's not so much about how fast you're throwing. It's more about what kind of quickness and looseness you can get with your wrist and fingers. I think if you have really quick wrist and fingers and a loose snap, and you're really good at getting your hand to its destination for, say, a curveball or a drop or a rise as fast as possible, you'll see break on those pitches. So I don't think there's like one specific speed where a pitch will start to break. Because like I said, girls will throw power drops that will be like the same speed as their fastball, and then off-speed drops, which will be much slower. So it's not like there's one speed where you're going to start to see movement. Should a flip change have spin on the ball, little spin or no spin? The flip change is the one changeup that will have a little bit of spin, because you're literally flipping the ball and kind of pulling it backwards a little bit. So it's the one pitch that will have, or the one changeup, excuse me, that will have a little bit of spin. The other changeups that we teach, the horseshoe or the circle or the shovel, you should not see hardly any spin on those pitches. Oh, this is a great question. Is taking time off from pitching a good idea? And how many days off in the off season should you pitch or do like a bunch of drills? Yes, give your pitchers time off, especially if they're coming off like a really long season. So a lot of girls will play school ball in the spring and then go right into summer ball and then right into fall ball. And especially if you have a pitcher who's like a dominant pitcher and she's really pitching the bulk of your innings, she needs to take at least a month off when her season is over, at least. We always tell our pitchers that once they're done with their tournament seasons, do not even pick up or touch a ball for at least a month, because you need to give those pitching muscles time to recover. You need to give them time to rest. If we're not having any rest or breaks, that's when injuries and overuse and burnout start to happen. It's the same thing as not resting when you're, doing workouts. So if you're doing like heavy lifting workouts and you never give yourself any rest days, then you don't give your muscles time to recover. The way we build muscles is actually by breaking down muscle fibers and then letting them rebuild themselves on rest days. So if we're not getting those rest days, we're not rebuilding the muscles, and injuries won't get better. More injuries will start to happen. So yes, crucial that our pitchers get rest. And that's why I always say you should never be on a team where you are the only pitcher, because you will burn out. And what was the second part of that? How many days in the off season should you pitch a full workout, a full bullpen versus doing drills? So in the off season, we like to tell our girls to pitch, and especially, it all depends on where you live too. So if you're in a place where it's winter and you can't get outside, obviously you're very limited. If you have an indoor facility, that's great. Or if you live somewhere where it's warm and you can still get outside, that's even better. But if it's the off season, I recommend pitching no more than 3 times a week, because I also believe that the off season is the time to strengthen condition. So you don't want to be doing a ton of strength and conditioning in season, because it greatly increases the chance of injuries. So I like to do a lot of strength and conditioning, or tell my girls to do strength and conditioning in the off season. But 3 times a week, or 2 to 3 times a week for pitching, is really good in the off season if you have a place where you can still pitch, especially if it's cold out. And I would still, I'd put them through, even though it's the off season, I'd put them through the same workouts I would as if it was the summer. Go through all your drills and then do full pitching. So a little bit less than if you're in season, but definitely make sure you're giving your pitchers a break. Definitely. What is your favorite pitch to watch someone throw? Rise ball. No, I'm gonna wait. Two answers to that. Rise ball is my absolute favorite pitch. It was the pitch I threw the most when I was playing, just because I think when you really throw that pitch correctly, it is devastating. It's so much fun to watch that ball go straight and then really spin up out of the zone. But lately, I've grown a huge appreciation, especially when watching the NCAA games, for just a really brutal changeup. It is, if you have a great speed differential between your fastball or your pitches and a changeup, I mean, a changeup is just devastating. You get these batters just way out in front of the pitch, and, a changeup is such a great pitch to know, and it is so crucial for every pitcher to have a good changeup. And ideally, you want to get to the point where you're comfortable enough to throw your changeup at any count, whether it's 0-2 or 3-2. So I would say rise ball and changeup are my 2 favorite pitches to throw. How can I improve my speed? Kind of touched on that already. Oh yes. What's the changeup my daughter can start learning? She's 10 and her hands are small. The most basic changeup that we teach would be either the horseshoe changeup or the circle changeup. So let me just come up quick and show you how we'd grip that. So for the horseshoe changeup, you would take where the seams kind of make this kind of C, and you would push it right up against your palm and kind of hold the pitch like that. Very crucial that the ball is right up against the palm. And for the circle change, you would take the same grip, except you'd come and make kind of like a circle with your fingers. I might try the circle, because especially if your daughter has small hands, I can kind of feel the ball up against my palm a little bit better with the circle changeup than the horseshoe changeup. And if she's really, really struggling with that, because she has small hands, I haven't really had a problem with, I have a lot of girls who have small hands. I haven't really had a problem teaching them those changeups. But if she's really struggling, I do also teach just a regular push changeup where you take the same grip as the fastball and just push it into the palm of your hand. But remember, it's the release and the grip that's going to take the change in speed. So we're pushing out instead of snapping and firing. So I would try starting with the circle change. I would recommend that one. Okay. 13-year-old pivots drive foot too early and pushes off rubber sideways. Drags foot, not toe. So not really a question, but I know what you mean. So I guess what that question is saying is that when your pitcher loads, she's turning her foot this way so that her body is angled this way. And then when she pushes off, she's collapsed on the side of her foot instead of up on her toe. Really, really common problem. Really, really challenging problem, and a problem that can affect the pitch big time, because once your foot, for a couple reasons, once you let your body turn this way, our throw zone is no longer pointed at our target. And once we get collapsed on the side of the foot, our drive through foot becomes like an anchor, and it's very difficult to get it all the way through. Believe it or not, it's not an issue with the foot that causes that to happen. It is a hip tightness and weakness issue. So what causes that is tightness in the hip flexors, which are the muscles in the front of your hip, and weakness in the glute muscles, which are, your butt and side hip muscles. So again, strength and conditioning is what's going to help that. But if you're looking for a drill, if she's a younger pitcher, so it's at 13, I would start with the reach, track, fire, drive drills and just really have her focus on feeling the staying up on the toe during the glide off. So tell her to focus, have her set up with her whole foot on the power line. Her foot is parallel to the power line and right on top of it. And tell her that when she glides off, she should look down and see that this foot is still in this same position except up on her toe, and the foot is still on the power line. So when she does reach, track, okay? Let her see that that foot is still on the power line and she's up on her toe. If she looks at herself and she sees this, tell her to start again, okay? Reach, track. If she's a little bit more advanced, again, you can do our out, back, freeze, deliver drill. So out, back, freeze, deliver. Still focusing on that same position of the toe. Really important that we start feeling getting up on the toe, because then it makes it much easier for the drive through to get all the way through and at the correct time. But again, it's mostly a hip issue that needs to be addressed through either physical therapy or strength and conditioning. I think we only have a couple more. I'm struggling to get my hips all the way open. Any tips? Very important. So basically, that means that you're having trouble getting into a tracked power K with the hips and shoulders facing the power line. Best thing to do for that, again, I don't know how many times I can say it, but strength and conditioning, because the inability to get open, or if you get open but then slam your hips shut as you deliver, that's a core strength issue. So getting with a trainer. But again, if you're looking for a drill, do any of your drills combined with wall work, and I would recommend you do wall work facing the wall, because as soon as you try to close, your arm or the ball is going to hit the wall. That's really good instant feedback to be able to see yourself parallel to the wall without hip and shoulder rotation. I actually just want to pop back to that previous question real quick, because I remembered what I was going to say about feeling the toe and knee, getting up on the toe and knee. It's also really great to do like the reach, track, fire, drive drills with your shoes off, because sometimes when girls are just in their socks, they can feel themselves getting up on their toes a little bit better. But yeah, so for opening, core strength, and wall work, any of your drills combined with wall work facing the wall. Best drills, this is the last question, best drills or cues to keep pitchers on their back toe to eliminate, yeah, so we kind of just addressed that. So again, reach, track, fire, drive. Again, so that's just saying cues to tell girls to keep on their toe instead of collapsing on the side of their foot. Reach, track, fire, drive, out, back, freeze, deliver, planks to power, and a new drill that I'm going to be posting in a little bit that also kind of takes the weight off of this right foot. But cues, and again, also try them doing it with their shoes off. If you have a mat, like I wouldn't recommend them doing it with their shoes off on like dirt or grass. But if you have like a mat, definitely have, or like they're inside at their house with a carpet, definitely try some with shoes off to have them really feel what it feels like to stay up on their toe. For cues, again, I would just tell them to set up, make sure their foot is set up directly on the power line, and tell them, look, your foot, when you're setting up on the rubber, is already in the toe and knee forward position. When you push and glide, don't let it leave that position. It's still there. So that would be a cue I would try to give your girls. Okay, I know that was a lot, and I know this video is probably like a half hour long, so I apologize. And if you're still sitting here listening to all the answers to the questions, you're awesome. If you enjoyed this, leave a comment and let me know. And I will try to do some live Q&As on Instagram as well. But I'm going to try to do some Q&As at least once a month so I can make sure I'm answering all your questions. Again, hope you found this useful and enjoyable, and I'll talk to you guys next time.